Mental alertness is being in there, the opposite of being out of it. It's a state of aliveness, or working towards aliveness, of being aware or switched on. Receptive alertness is the ability to be actively passive or passively active, an appropriately balanced amount of each. If you're apathetic or lazy-minded, you'll probably miss what's happening, failing to grasp opportunities. Likewise, a self-obsessed mentality will run away with itself and squander valuable chances. You must be discerning. If you're not, you'll be open to anything, vulnerable to any old rubbish. This is where concentration comes in, the focusing of attention, without which you'll mentally drift or wander. This combination of receptive alertness and concentration adds up to in-there-ness. This isn't one of our 16 key factors, but mental alertness, or at very least concentration, is a necessary preliminary skill. It's basic, or it should be. Wild animals have it. If they didn't, they'd quickly end up dead because nature is unforgiving, with dangers everywhere. But in our soft, easy society, most people have tuned out. They've chosen a lazy, dull life with little or no edge. You'd be forgiven for calling them zombies, apathetic, unresponsive, seemingly incapable of rational thought. If you're out of it, you're not ready, not in the game, possibly not even a spectator. You won't be able to respond in a genuinely intelligent or meaningful way, being at your best. Or, if you do, it'll be a brief arousal from slumber before you quickly slip back into the stupor of semi-oblivion. And when I'm referring to semi-oblivion, that's how it looks from our perspective when the comfortable numbness of normality has been surpassed. You can forget about being prepared, forget any notion of grasping opportunity, because you won't stand a chance if you're in the fog of near unconsciousness or some partial state of being cognizant. To some degree, you're being sensitive, incapable of properly acting on any input. It's dysfunction, plain and simple, albeit normalised. As all of this is normalised, you probably won't recognise it as applying to you because you'll think you're nowhere near being a zombie. The surviving members of Pink Floyd reunited on stage at the O2 Arena in London on the 12th of May 2011 for only the second time in 30 years. Roger Waters was performing The Wall, and for that one night he was joined by Nick Mason and David Gilmour for their classic song Comfortably Numb. This special occasion featured on TV news bulletins, showing the crowd going absolutely insane. Thousands of fans, mainly in their 50s, 60s and 70s, had their hands up in the air, swaying along as they joined in, singing the words, "I have become comfortably numb." They knew it, were aware of it, collectively identified with it. But how many had managed to do anything about it? It's widely assumed that you need downtime. And this is understandable when you consider the stress of being part of the rat race, doing a job that you're not totally committed to, just to get money, to pay the rent or mortgage, etc. When you're immersed in the dubious practices of the supposed-to-be life, playing the game with other reluctant players, it repeatedly builds and builds into a messy emotional drama, or merely descends into the brain-numbing gloom of boredom. You need to switch off, otherwise you'd lose the plot. You're in a stinking swamp and it gets too much. Downtime permits you to recover, so you can feel sufficiently refreshed to join the morning commute to go to work yet again. Almost everyone joins in with this cycle of reluctance to work, buffered with downtime. Even enthusiastic entrepreneurs who really go at it non-stop are urged to join in with this obsession to take a break, work less, shut off. Distractions are seen as a good thing. But from what? Doing a dumb job, maybe. But shouldn't you be following your highest dream? The brain does need sleep, but otherwise it can keep going to a remarkable degree if there's a good enough motivation. It isn't a muscle, so it doesn't get tired in that way. What fucks you up or numbs you down is the contradictory, meaningless life. The current trend or dependency on coffee speaks volumes. It's a crutch, a convenient substitute for the weak-minded. Caffeine is a drug. When too much is consumed, it increases anxiety and disrupts sleep patterns. If you become dependent on it, then go cold turkey, you get pounding headaches, mental fuzziness and fatigue for a few days until the body adjusts. The UK's current obsession with coffee is a reflection on people's dullness or mental poverty. Far too many rely on this drink to wake themselves up, which says a lot. If you're a budding scriptwriter, hoping to make it big in Hollywood by penning the next blockbuster, here's an idea. People love zombie movies, but zombies to date are a bit limited, boring. All they want to do is eat your flesh. So they need some character development. And here's the idea. Get them to also obsess about cups of coffee. Make your movie script even more relatable to the mass audience out there. Jonathan Livingston Seagull would have become super popular with the flock if he'd have opened up a coffee shop rather than wanting to fly higher, faster, better. So being out of it is cutting off. It allows you to continue functioning selfishly without too much concern or guilt, which otherwise would be hard to consciously bear unless it prompted a major change of direction. You've effectively become a prisoner, trapped behind bars of your own making. The habitual behaviour of avoidance, giving in to what's easy, has resulted in perpetual lockdown, imprisonment. You've erected defensive barriers to supposedly keep you safe, but this means you exist behind a wall or perhaps hide in your shell. And if you don't find a way to break free, it's a life sentence. By letting others condition you, monkey do what monkey see, then willingly joining in, you've committed the mother of all crimes. If you've been taking notice throughout this series of films, which I'm sure you have been if you've got this far, perhaps you might be anticipating that I'll now be suggesting you reach for our 16 key factors to get you out of prison. Wrong. Of course, the keys are the keys. They're undoubtedly essential. But it's premature to look to them for help in this instance. Instead, you need a torch. Zombies are the undead. Not actually deceased, expired, no more, but barely alive. As will be revealed to all in a future movie, they drink coffee to keep themselves going. So this question of alertness isn't black or white, dead or alive, more a matter of degree. So, back to the torch, which I'm sure you're wondering about. When it comes to mental alertness, the basic functioning of your perception, think of yourself stuck in the pitch black, where it's so dark you can't even see your hand in front of your face. It's scarily dark like that some nights at Comsberg Wilderness Nature Reserve when there's no moonlight. Or you could be in a windowless room. It doesn't matter where. Anyway, you need a torch to help you see. Torches obviously have a battery or batteries in them. But if you're not diligent, the battery level might have become drained, very low, urgently in need of recharging. To properly see what's what, you need sufficient light coming out of the torch. Too little, and if you're at Comsberg, you might perhaps stand on a poisonous snake. It doesn't necessarily have to be 100% bright, but the torchlight does have to be good enough. If the torchlight is sufficient, it's torch on. Anything less than that, it's torch off, because it's effectively useless, inadequate, as you're still unable to see, even if there's a bit of dim or flickering light. In other words, fit for purpose or not fit for purpose. Your mind needs to be like a functioning torch. And that's how wild animals are. They have a constant receptive alertness. The balance changes according to the perceived danger level, but they're never out of it. They say that dogs sleep with one eye open, which, at least metaphorically, suggests something similar. Although I'm not sure when it comes to our resident four-legged friend here. To repeat, this mental alertness, in-there-ness as we call it, is a basic preliminary skill. You need sufficient concentration so as to focus your mind appropriately and to keep it on track. If your mind isn't switched on, torch off, there'll be a limit to how much of the avoidance syndrome you'll be able to expose, for example. As I've said before, some excuses are blatant and basic, but others can be subtle and sophisticated, harder to get to grips with. To move beyond, you need to shine a spotlight on them to help you see everything as it is. A good level of mental alertness, torch on, is necessary for many things. Yes, it's essential for exposing and unpicking the whole avoidance syndrome, but it's equally as important when using the 16 key factors. You need to be powered up. Teachers, who are not the brightest of sparks, know that the lesson immediately after lunch is a challenge. They call it the graveyard shift. The digestion of food can dull concentration if you let it. There's also a danger at dusk, if you're driving, for example. The body temporarily experiences a slight biochemical surge to slow us down, preparing for sleep. It's an evolutionary thing, as we were best suited for diurnal activity, less able to deal with nocturnal threats. Anyway, you need a slight boost of willpower or concentration after eating a meal or around dusk. 3 even more challenging situations can knock you off being your best if you're not diligent. First, you can easily give in to being tired at the end of a long day, which, if you need to keep going, you shouldn't succumb to. Second, your mentality can be seriously thrown during illness. The tendency to feel sorry for yourself kicks in, and you allow your mind to be as pathetic as your body's feeling, temporarily out of action. But your psychology isn't the same as your physiology. Your mind can remain strong when your body is weak. The third danger point is when you've had some major emotional knockback. Something's gone wrong and you're thrown. At such a time, you can be vulnerable to being less than your best. Habitual behaviour is disrupted, and there's a strong tendency to snap back to the early lessons you learnt in life, even though they're not the best. So be careful. Watch yourself. Learn now. Be prepared. You're alive. Therefore, it's reasonable to expect engagement. If the battery in your torch is too low or flat, then fix it. Get busy with torch on, and you'll definitely need good mental alertness for tackling hypocrisy, which is the subject of our next film. So I'll see you again soon.